I noticed a lot of new businesses that weren't there the last time I was there, or they just changed the outside appearance. In the outside bar, I was the only guest. In Thai news shows on YouTube, they talk about it, but I had no idea it was this bad. Only the freelancers. In Bangkok, I stayed as usual at a nice hotel on Soi 4 with easy access to Sukhumvit Road and Benjakitti Park. My favourite restaurant on Sukhumvit Road, Ari Seafood Sukhumvit, and I like to have a good draft Chang beer at the beer garden in Nana Plaza. I enjoyed my farewell trip very much. I am now 74 and call it quits with pay for play. I never had any problem with the girls. Some I threw out, but I always paid them. I also had my fair share of ladyboys turn up. Whenever I found out, I paid them and I told them to go. There was never a problem. On one occasion, a ladyboy bolted while I was in the shower. I was more relieved that he didn't take anything except for the agreed upon money. I have been living happily on my own for over 20 years and I have never had the desire to find a Thai partner or look for love. I got most of the girls from Thai Friendly and the odd one from Beach Road. I never paid a bar fine. At the end, I had a pool of girls I could go back to either in Bangkok or in Pattaya. The good thing with these girls is that I could leave my wallet on the table and never have any money missing. I always wore protection, so I never had any health issues. For convenience, I always purchased insurance when travelling to Thailand. Fortunately, I never had to use it. I don't regret anything that I did or that happened to me in Thailand. The only thing I regret is not going there earlier in my life. Right now, I enjoy what Sydney and Australia have to offer, like daily walks, a beer here and there with friends, etc. Also, I am going back to Europe every other year, using Bangkok or Singapore as a stopover. So, in a nutshell, I'm pretty happy with my retirement life. Okay, so he had the right attitude, the way he handled things, didn't he? But he did bring up a very common scam there that you should be aware of if you haven't heard about this. So if you date a Thai girl from a bar, for instance, you just take a girl from a bar, you like her, and you invite her for lunch or dinner, and then suddenly she's ordering many, many dishes of food, but she's hardly touching it. Up to sort of 10 plates of food. It's ridiculous. And what happens is, obviously you end up paying for it. That is a real red flag because she's basically ripping you off. Because what they'll do, those sort of girls who do that, they order all these plates of food, they hardly touch it, they get it bagged up to take home and they share it with their roommates, and they all do it. And if they do that regular, they're always going to have a free pool of food, haven't they? So if you're with a girl on a date and she starts acting like that, buying lots of food, I would just go up to the cashier, pay for your bill and let her pay for the 10 plates of dishes that she's ordered, teach her a lesson. Right. Okay, let's go into story number 2. My story is a little different from the usual bar girl horror stories that I have heard about through your channel and other channels. However, thanks to my research, I was quite well versed in how to handle the various situations that foreigners can be in on visits to Thailand, and I thought to paint a detailed picture for you. A little about me. I'm a Sri Lankan 41-year-old in December 2023, not particularly tall at 175 centimetres and on the heavy side at 100 kg. But I do not resemble the average Sri Lankan man. My skin tone is on the lighter side of brown with a salt and pepper French beard. Physically, I look Mediterranean and I am regularly asked if I am Greek, Italian, Turkish or Lebanese. I've never been married before. My story started when I met this Thai lady on the Bumble app. The app had unlocked travel mode to users periodically during the COVID pandemic, and I was swiping on profiles in Thailand, having transported my profile to Bangkok. I used the free services of the app, so travel mode was only active for a couple of months as a special. We were chatting via the app for a few months and eventually switched to Instagram and WhatsApp. Occasionally, we would have calls. Far was very pretty in her photos, had a college education, spoke very good English, and claimed that she owned a shop selling women's clothing and accessories at the Pattaya night market. She said she was 40 years old, but I did not believe her since she could easily pass for 28 to 30. I also knew she had a mother and 3 sisters who lived outside Greater Bangkok, but she had moved to Pattaya to start her business some years ago. In October 2023, a friend of mine from Switzerland messaged me about her plans to visit Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand in December and asked if I was interested to join. Due to work, I could only take 2-week trip, so it was decided that I would join her in Bangkok for the last few days of her trip before she flew back to Switzerland on January the 1st, 2024. I wrote to Far about this and told her I would fly into Bangkok and come directly to Pattaya on Christmas Day, then leave Pattaya to join my other friend in Bangkok on the 29th. Far helped me find a hotel in central Pattaya. She even visited the hotel to check out the facilities and asked for a special price. But since it was high season, the price was expensive. Still, it was the best deal I could find, and it was close to Tree Town and the night market where she had her shop. She also advised me to use the Bolt app from Bangkok Airport and even offered to pick me up from the bus station in her car. In the meantime, my mother had asked me to find a Malaysian 3-in-1 coffee that she liked. Far found it online, ordered 4 packets, and then delivered them to her rented room in Pattaya. On the day of my flight, I found it was delayed by 8 hours. Instead of arriving at 6 a.m, I would land at 1 p.m, meaning I would get to Pattaya around 4 to 5 p.m. in the evening. Far was still awake when I told her and said she would meet me at the hotel. She even volunteered to pay for my taxi, but luckily I had enough baht left from a previous trip. I prefer cash over cards when travelling because of scams. True to her word, she arrived at the hotel just as I got out of the taxi. She looked beautiful, just like her photos. We hugged, checked in, she inspected the room and even tipped the bellhop before I could reach my wallet. Then she walked with me to exchange money and buy some snacks. I told her I needed a shower and a nap, so she said she would return after closing her shop at around 10 p.m. I woke earlier than expected and messaged her. Then walked to her shop to see her before closing. She had already picked out some baseball caps for me from her friend's store. Soon after she closed, we went to Tree Town for food, then collected her car from Central Mall and took a short drive before going back to the hotel. Aerobics with Far was great, and after a restful sleep, she drove me to Pattaya, lookout point for the breakfast. Afterwards, she went to work while I told her I would visit some bars in the evening and meet her again at 10 p.m. After gym, sauna and swim, I went to a few bars around Tree Town and Soi Chayapun. I made it clear to the bar girls I wasn't interested in taking anyone because I had someone to meet later. It was still fun playing pool and chatting. Then I met Far at 10 p.m. She took me by BART bus to the Runway Street food market. I bought dinner while she got drinks and refused to take any money for them. Later, she told me the coffee packets had arrived and cost 1,000 baht. She refused to accept my money until I insisted. She also said she would take a full day off to spend with me. I felt guilty because it was high season, but she insisted. We walked on Beach Road talking about life in Pattaya and how people depend on tourists. That night, we had more aerobics and sleep. The next day, I went on a pub crawl in the afternoon, then met her at sunset at the Hilton rooftop bar before joining the crawl again. Later, we had dinner with live music before going back to the hotel. Friday was my last full day. She went to collect clothes and the coffee packets, then introduced me to her best friend who owned a coffee shop. Afterwards, we drove to Jomtien and then to a local seafood market where I was the only foreigner. We ate grilled seafood and fried fish with Chang beer. On the way back, she stopped for gas and again refused my offer to pay. That afternoon, as we lay in bed, I thanked her for making my trip so memorable. She then asked if I wanted to try a soapy massage. I told her no because I was happy with her and only wanted a proper Thai massage without extras. So she took me to a place she trusted where I got a fantastic 1-hour massage from a trained masseur. Later, over dinner, I raised the idea of a relationship. She said she also enjoyed my company and would love more, but we both knew a long-distance relationship would not work out. So we agreed to stay friends and keep in touch. She had booked my taxi to Bangkok and even paid for it, but I insisted on reimbursing her 1,400 baht. The next morning, we had breakfast together and she stayed with me until the taxi came. I felt sad leaving as she waved with her bright smile. She told me about the struggle since COVID, but also her determination to stay afloat with loyal customers. She was tough and resilient, and I found it refreshing to speak with someone educated with a good head on her shoulders. I was glad to have met Far, who was nothing like the Pattaya horror stories. I have kept in touch and even visited her again 6 months later. This time, we drove outside the city to an elephant sanctuary, temples, and even tried go-karting, where she took photos and videos of me. Unfortunately, with work, I could not return until July 2025. This story is still ongoing. Far and I remain in contact, but she has started to distance herself, saying she's not right for me, that I should find somebody younger to marry and have a family with, and that she is too old to have children. Who knows what the future holds, but I will always remember what we shared together. So, it is always possible to find a diamond in the rough. And by her asking him to look for another woman and he should be raising a family, in my opinion, I think that's her kind of testing him. She's with this guy. She obviously likes him. And depending on his answer, maybe that would make her decide whether he's worthwhile pursuing. But the fact that she didn't want to see him after a while, it was the contact was getting less and less. Maybe she found somebody else that was more, there was more prospect to a long-term relationship. We'll never know.